So the Global Fuel Economy Initiative has gained momentum in recent years. We have a lot of work that we want to do. So it's very exciting, it's very energetic. So we're here as a service. We do our very best to be practical, to be focused, to allow countries to frame solutions that will fit them the best.
We've learned that a fuel economy policy is much more than just promoting a number of rules. It is really getting countries to think about their vehicle fleet and the future of their vehicle fleet. We have now about 20 countries that we're working in. We've gone up from 4 to close to 20 countries, including countries like India and Russia. We have no time to waste. We have pilot countries. From there, we need to scale up. In the next 5, 6, 7 years, we need to work with 40, 50 countries.
If you're able to show a decision maker that you're spending 40% of your import bill on fuel, when in fact your children are dying of malaria, or you don't have education, don't have a health service, and tell them, I could show you ways in which we could cut your import bill and use billions of dollars to bring medicine to the people. If we can phrase our argument in that framework, actually show that it will bring fundamental money to do other programs, I think in that way we can touch the hearts of people.
This is a service we're offering on equal footing to everyone in any country, big or small, that faces the issue of a need to improve their fuel economy so that they can benefit from motorisation but minimise the disbenefits that that could bring in terms of their environment, in terms of their balance of payments, economic pressures.
What's unique about the GFEI is it brings together a small, committed group of individuals and organizations that are committed to making sure that the future vehicles of the world are as clean and as fuel efficient as possible. We have a gap now between the developed and the developing worlds in terms of fuel economy and many other attributes of our vehicles. The decisions that are being made by governments and consumers right now and over the next few years is going to define what the vehicle fleet looks like for decades to come. That's why it's so important to get the data right and at the end of the day to make sure that the decisions are made right so that people are buying the cleanest, most efficient vehicles they can afford.
One of the key things that GFEI offers are the resources to enable countries to access what other people are currently doing in this area. So we bring people together physically to meet, to talk to each other. That's really important for understanding. But we also offer web-based tools which enable people to check out what's happening elsewhere.
So we also have been working, again with support from the FAA Foundation, to put together a global toolkit where we combine and collect and gather all the best practices around the world. Any country that has put in place some sort of fuel economy policy is in there.
The importance of the initiative for the toolkit is to understand what global fuel economy is all about, how would it affect them, what are the instruments that make up a fuel efficiency policy. We want policymakers to use it.
Because policymakers will need evidence. So we expect by joining the GFEI, all these vehicle fuel economy issues would be tackled in a holistic way. The best policy to put in place, how to achieve the required target of fuel efficiency.
The first section talks about the introduction. It takes you through the principles of a global fuel economy. It talks about climate change, reducing air pollution and setting the foundation. It really emphasizes the importance of fuel quality for lower vehicle emissions, because to be able to be truly successful, you need the right kind of fuel. And then it gives you what are the flanking measures that you need to put in, and it measures the action. So that is the introduction, and it's got a very lovely drop-down menu, and you'll quickly be able to go through it. So it's very easy to use. The next section is the instruments, and this is the exciting section. People love to say, okay, you're talking about fuel efficiency, but what really is it? Now, with fuel economy, we have what we call regulatory policies and then the economic instruments. And with regulatory policies, it helps you understand what kind of regulatory measures do you need to take.
The Global Fuel Economy Initiative is trying to map out the policy requirements to achieve a more sustainable pattern of energy use, where you generate regulatory action with government doing the right thing at the right time industry responding to that, but then consumer information creating the necessary demand that these products are sold.
Then we have case studies. There's a dark blue tab that will take you through into the case studies. And the case studies allow you to explore the out-of-fuel economy policies and programs by countries or region. We find that many policymakers use that as part of their justification as they're looking to use the tools for their own, as they make the case for their own country. They'll go in here so that they can back up what they're proposing to their decision makers with some examples. And the examples range from developed countries to transition countries and developing countries, which is very useful so that it's not just coming from one end of the spectrum, it's coming from across the spectrum.
So this is a region that is faced with just increasing fuel costs and challenges of air pollution. So the problems are there, but the solutions, such as fuel economy, still need to be explained to the policymakers that this is a path that they can take if they want a more livable city and a country that is not dependent on imported fossil fuels.
Then we come to resources, and resources may be the start now of a country going into trying to do it for themselves. And it gives more information on fuel economy and gives guidance on how to calculate one's own country average auto-fuel economy. So it really says developing a baseline, and it leads you through a lovely questionnaire. It's a very interactive questionnaire. It summarizes the case studies, and it's really the start of the work now that somebody can go in there and start putting in their own input and answer the questionnaire and start seeing where are they and what steps could they begin to take.
Once we overcome a critical mass, now that developing countries are starting to develop these policies, we reach sort of a tipping point whereby the information now is much more easily available, that we can work with a larger group of countries to be able to get these policies in place in a couple of years' time.
The GFEI is a very important tool to realize that these are forums that we need to drive change. And this is a time for us to realize our potential and ask all our leaders and see how they can be able to support this initiative.
Global fuel economy is making a lot of progress on that, creating experience in countries like Chile, and then we are starting to work in other countries like Peru, Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, giving them the experience that came from this first case study in Chile.
The GFEI itself has brought together a variety of organizations, all of which have complementary skill sets. We see in the United States CEOs of major automobile manufacturers all standing up with the president in the Rose Garden saying, we agree with doubling US fuel economy. And that was a real breakthrough in collaboration between the industry and the government. And I think we're going to see that more and more as we go around the globe.
The consequences in Asia are even bigger than, say, in the West. So the ability for fuel economy standards to reduce fuel use and associated emissions is huge. And what GFEI is trying to do, and what we're also trying to do, is focus on the solution side. Trying to bring together stakeholders to focus on where is the common ground, where are the areas where the economy wins, society wins, the environment wins.
If you don't set stringent standards, then you are losing an opportunity. We must not delay this regulation any further. So that has to be the priority right now. And once that's done, then we have to keep this process dynamic, and we must continue to improve that in the future.
I think the Global Fuel Economy Initiative is the only initiative in the world that's brought everybody together. It's bringing around all the countries, particularly those in developing and transition countries, using the experiences of the developed countries. So I would say it's an exciting time, but it is the only global program that looks specifically at vehicles and looks at what is happening around the world and saying that we have a global target, that if each person plays their role, we'll actually be able to make a global impact, from local footprints into a global impact. And I think that's tremendous.